Cohen has already been questioned by the Secret Service, but today he was called before a federal grand jury and would not talk. Chris Bruner is in Springfield, Massachusetts. He joins us now live via satellite. Chris?
Ed, we now know what it is that Brian Cohen specifically did that gained him the attention of the Secret Service, the U.S. Attorney, and a federal grand jury. Apparently, Brian had been communicating some of his radical politics on a computer network in which he was discussing the L.A. riots. And at the end of that discussion, he added, "Bush needs a bullet in his head." Well, apparently, somehow or other, the federal government got wind of those statements and subpoenaed him here today to a federal district grand jury in Springfield. When it was all over, Brian Cohen has not been arrested and may never be. William College senior Brian Cohen emerged from the federal courthouse here in Springfield, Massachusetts after 3 hours of questioning by a federal grand jury. His brush with the law began shortly after he spoke at this May 4th demonstration by college students in Pittsfield against the Rodney King verdict and the rioting in L.A. 3 days later, Cohen says Secret Service agents approached him at the college campus to investigate alleged threats against the president. Cohen, a self-avowed anarchist, says he refused to cooperate, and he was eventually summoned before the grand jury here today. While he was inside, fellow anarchists demonstrated outside the courthouse, while someone with binoculars looked on. At 5 o'clock, Cohen and his attorney emerged to contend that it was a government witch hunt over some Lenny Bruce-type statements Cohen made on a computer network.
Something to the effect that George Bush, who has murdered millions of women and children in Iraq, has the audacity to call people who righteously, who rise up in righteous indignation and rebel and resist in Los Angeles as criminals. Bush needs a bullet in his head.
Well, I don't know what they're going to do. Again, their whole nature is secrecy, and it's not going to stop me from doing my political work. I'm glad to be back outside and back on the streets, and so I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing.
Now, Brian Cohen emphatically says he never meant to actually threaten the President of the United States. He says it's all a government witch hunt. He says he was asked about 25 questions by the grand jury, and he invoked his Fifth Amendment privileges against self-incrimination, not because he says he had anything to feel guilty about, but he simply feels that they have no right to ask him about his political beliefs. The U.S. Attorney in the case says no comment. It's a federal grand jury investigation. They wouldn't talk about it. Ed?
Is the First Amendment not involved here, Chris? It would certainly seem that he was writing political commentary.
Yeah, that could be also, too, but he invoked his Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination. He believes that's probably going to be the end of it, and it could well be the end of this saga.
They didn't offer him immunity, which is one of the ways around the Fifth Amendment.
Well, there are some tricky things in federal grand juries where they can offer him immunity, but they can then take that testimony and go use it as an investigative tool and kind of come at him from a different direction. But if indeed, if what he says is correct, it was just a Lenny Bruce-like comment, that could be the end of it.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe it is. Thank you. Chris Bruner reporting live from Springfield. Chris?